Yay! I'm so
Hello.
happy to be with you today, all the way from Israel, yes? Is that where you're
Yes.
located right now? Yes. Very
Yes.
good. All right. Well, thank you for this. I just can't wait to hear some of your story, Nurit. What it was like.
Tons of
What happened.
stories.
Lots of stories. We love a good story. All right.
Yes.
So, you know, um, this joy of the work that we share. Um, we just start to go back and see from the beginning, what was happening in your life and what was it like and how did you bump into the work or what was interesting to you about it? Like why did you want to do it?
Yeah. Um, I thought about this question and it took me like 40 years back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
Because tried to figure out how did I come to find the work. And I made like a long list of life events
I
that
love it.
drove me to find happiness.
Yeah.
So I realized the way I remember it, that I wasn't a very happy child and I wasn't a very happy teenager.
Hmm.
And in my 20s, I was miserable and I wanted to be happy. So, I studied psychology and all kind of stuff. And then later on, other methods of therapy and healing and wanting to heal myself too and find happiness and joy in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were a lot of things happened, but about 5 or 6 years ago, I was doing some integrative alternative medicine practices and always looking for the next thing to learn and study because
Mm-hmm.
it's like I was looking for it
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't find it. And then I was just praying to the skies to send me someone. And I remember I was thinking, it's like, I wanted to be a woman and she needs to be alive. And I
Wow.
want to understand the language she's speaking.
Ah, how
And
interesting. Like to actually have you know,
I
that's
had very specific requests.
yes. Yes. Here's what I want. Hello, universe. Yeah. Wow.
Yes, exactly like that.
Wow.
And then people started asking me, is what you do is a Byron Katie? And so I started hearing the name Byron Katie. And I thought like, who's this dude? By this Byron dude.
Right. Yeah.
And then one day I was at the bookstore and there was the book in front of me on the table, Loving What Is.
Ah,
And I saw it's a woman, Byron Katie. And I read the book and I was very curious and interested about it. But I think there was one inquiry specifically that caught my attention. It's like towards the end when Katie facilitates someone who was a child during World War II.
yes.
And when she says about you were a child at the time of the war, and all these years this war existed in you, it was an aha moment for me
Wow.
because I was a specialist, not only in arguing with reality, but fighting reality and experiencing this internal war and war with the external world all the time.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then I found about a workshop in my city. So I signed up. It was
Ah,
just one day, 3 hours. And
yeah.
then I was facilitated about a thought. And it was like, poof, problem is gone.
Ah,
Yeah.
fabulous. What do you think
Yes.
helped you get that? Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to know. It's just that's beautiful to have that experience, just deeply in you by doing it. And sometimes
Yeah.
people say, I mean, I think of it as so simple. It's like just try it. Just walk through the questions and answer them. and see. I don't really get it. I don't really know. There's so that's wonderful that you sat with it, and got that experience in the first workshop that you
Yeah.
went
But I think it was the first time luck, because the second time, the second time, I think it was a workshop with Tom.
to.
He
Uh-huh.
came to Israel, and then we had an exercise. So someone experienced volunteered to facilitate me, and he asked us to do an inquiry about maybe God or something like that.
Hmm.
And I chose my mother. And yeah, I just couldn't let go of my story and my identity. And to sit in question 4, I couldn't see it. I was struggling.
Yeah, that is such an interesting. Uh, I know you're not
Yeah.
alone. How often that can happen? Like, what? I don't understand. Who would I be without the thought? That's not possible. I'm thinking it.
Yeah, but also I thought like I just picked like a very difficult situation with
Yeah,
someone who was very challenging in my life.
yeah,
And I thought it'd be easy. Like the first time it was about a friend and you know,
yeah,
and then I realized it's not always easy and
yeah.
you need some practice.
Yes. I love that you've written a whole book on inquiry with about mothers.
Yes, can I show it?
Yes, please do. And
So it's funny because it is about a
yeah,
mother's, it's not about my mother, it's not a memoir, um, but it's, yeah, Katie says mother, father, brother, sister.
yes.
So I jumped right in, and I think my motivation was my own motherhood and my dreams and fantasies about family that were still like hitting me in the face, waking me up to reality that I didn't like.
Yeah.
And the
Did you
children,
did
you
you have
know,
children of your own?
yes, I do. And
Okay.
they're here to wake me up
Yes.
and burst my bubbles all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I just didn't want to have a relationship with them where I am not liking how I feel about myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, lots of arguing and conflicts and tension about all kind of stuff. And it really, really made me go there and do my
Wow.
work. And so it's like a mirror. It's like I'm the mother with my children, and here's my mother, and I'm the child. And it's like I felt stuck between these two,
Uh,
rock in a hard place,
yeah.
and I had so many fantasies about family and
Wow.
how it should be, and how it's supposed to be, and how I want it to be, and how I dream it to be,
Yeah.
and lots of bubbles got burst.
Would you feel like your experience is like noticing that the difficulty of that story, or just being in it and kind of like, would you say it was kind of like a slow, or was there sort of a, you did the work, you returned to the work, and then there was a big insight, or maybe it's a combo of, I don't know, say a little more about the work on your mother. I know Katie has said, yeah, different lengths of time, but like spending time on her mother was one of the most powerful and long-term inquiries that she did, daily for a long time, and staying with it. So that's an
Yes.
interesting, you know,
Yeah, I write about that experience. So after that first time, I
yeah,
wasn't looking forward to doing the work on my mother, but I think later on something happened and I had to do it. So I turned to experienced facilitator to sit with me, and
mm-hmm.
it was awful, awful. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't meditate. Just the stories and my story and the identity just so strong. It was so hard to see beyond that.
Yeah, wow,
And then a third time, again, it was terrible. And I felt just bodily sensations,
Oh,
really
like
not good.
like tension, anxiety, like tightening, like a fighting feeling or collapse.
Yeah, yeah, I felt weak,
Yeah.
like I need sugar,
Yeah.
I'm gonna faint, I'm gonna die.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And
So,
then I think I haven't touched it for a long time.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then at the schools, I met friends and we were practicing. And I noticed nobody's showing up with a worksheet on their mother. And I thought, like, why is that? So I challenged a good friend because I knew he had some other
Uh-huh.
issues too. And I told him, let's do this together. And we picked up the same thought to start our worksheets from. And
Beautiful.
then we met just for sometimes for some weeks. We just did the work on our mothers and we picked the same thoughts and even similar situations. It was amazing.
Fantastic. I love that. That is like a,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's sometimes the power of doing the work with one other or a group. You've got your different situation, but the details are a little bit different, but you kind of feel the same. It's the same thought.
Yeah.
Wonderful. How great.
Yeah. And I went with what Katie says, that the thoughts are universal. So
Yes.
we tested that. And at some point, I told him, I think we have the same mother, even. So,
Right.
and then I think something opened, something cracked open
Mm.
that led to one day having a thought about writing a book because this is something I never planned or dreamed to do. It was not part of my identity
Yeah.
to write a book.
So great.
Yeah,
And did you start, because I know your book is beautiful because there's different inquiries, different people doing the work on their mother, the whole thing.
yes, yes,
You just start doing the work with people, you're facilitating them.
yeah, yeah. So I reached out to people I met at the schools and some people in some groups where
Yeah,
sometimes we partner to practice.
yeah.
And it was amazing. Everyone said yes.
Oh,
And maybe I didn't sit with everybody because, life happens, but it was amazing that everyone said yes.
oh,
And I
so
thought
good.
it's like a really special community of people who love the work.
Yeah. Not afraid to actually like let it out about mother, whatever the concepts are about mother. Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah,
I That's beautiful saying yes because sometimes that is quite a that's sort of a I don't know, gateway to go through is just simply being willing to speak of your thoughts, to say everything honestly the way they are, like the whole mess of them. You feel so bad. This is about my mother. I shouldn't be writing this, like she's really a good person, or you know what I mean, or whatever, or she's terrible. I'm staying in the victim mode. Um, and it's great to get past that and just be willing to write it all and then start.
yeah. And there was a point where, so when I started, I had agendas, well, the first one, the end of suffering and being happy. And and those things that Katie wrote in her books, I wanted that. Like she
Uh,
says, I did the work on my mother and I had a mother. So I had that goal in
yeah,
mind. And
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
or when she says she took care of her mother when she was old, and my mother was getting old too. And so I imagined that and I wanted that. So I had all these agendas and goals in mind.
yeah.
And I think halfway in this process, it flipped on me. The thing about doing the work with a motive, it,
Yes.
I hit a wall, and I thought like, gosh, I did inquiries and I could see my part,
Yeah. So,
like me as a teenager, for example. And this is where my children reflect back to me that I know that as a mother, I have good intentions, but something doesn't work
Yeah.
with my teenagers, and I go in their business, and I think they
Yeah.
probably experienced me as an awful person, awful parent. And then I can turn and look at my mother and see how I was as a teenager, not listening, not caring, indifferent, and contributing to the situations and things like that. And then
Mm.
I started to feel like I'm such a horrible person.
Yeah.
And so I see how some people might be afraid of reaching that point, taking the blame on themselves and feeling
Yeah.
a lot of guilt. And
Yeah. My horrible
so,
mind that does this, and I shouldn't even be feeling this way, and what's wrong with me that I have this perspective. I really can just relax. Let's just relax about it, you know. And yeah, it doesn't work. I mean,
yeah,
it's a harsh way of being. It's what's the reality that's happening. So let's,
yeah.
but I,
And the turnarounds, they
yeah,
can flip back on you, and then the way you take it,
yes,
ooh, I've done this, I've caused that,
yeah,
I contributed to that, and taking responsibility
yeah,
for that.
yeah,
So just if it happens to anybody, just try to do the work without an
yeah,
agenda.
yes. I love you saying this, bringing it up. Um, Not everybody knows of this invitation or like saying, I like that that's kind of a thing that is offered maybe by Katie or whatever, just awareness in the practice of the work, discovering there is a what do we mean by motive or goal? I'm doing this so that it will look like this later. Like I'll, not right now, but I'll get somewhere and it'll be like peaceful and blissful, or I'll be a fantastic mother, or I'll do the right thing, or who knows, I'll not just with mothers, I'll stop this or start that or be successful. And it's funny because I think those interests in whatever being creative in life, are there, but really to absolutely let it drop, like like catching that thing. I think I was doing the work for at least 2 years, and on whatever time, I don't know, but I remember just focusing on this person who was driving me crazy, and I kept on doing the work over and over again on this person. When one day I had that, I just was realizing I have the agenda here that if I do the work on this person, I'm going to be able to uh, kind of like relax and enjoy their company. And maybe it's a person I'm going to date. Like maybe this is a love relationship that will turn into something. And it was like, I suddenly realized I have this whole plan or ideal. And when I realized that, I actually had a short conversation with Katie at an event talking about how the anger keeps coming. The anger keeps coming. And I loved just this one piece of the conversation where she said, how do you know you're supposed to be angry? You are. And I was like, oh, supposed to be angry. Right. That's what these thoughts, and it was letting myself be whatever I was in the moment and letting this go in whatever future. And I don't know, it just was clear. Oh, it's not working. I don't have to like strangle, myself or the other person or my plans about the future. Same as like making peace with mother, or even seeking enlightenment. Like whatever we dream of, that whatever it is, we'll think about what it is, and we're saying this is not it. It's later. I need to do things to get there. Hard, hard situation. So
Yeah,
I love you mentioned that. It's just like sitting, and it's a weird paradox because don't you think, like you found, like you were describing, you come into the work because you do sense of you're suffering. You want to do something that will help stop the pain.
yeah.
So there is a momentum towards that, a natural place of peace that we want to go. But and we're thinking it's not here, it's not here, it's not here. It seems like it isn't, because of the mind. But it's powerful then to realize. I don't know. You can say more about this. Like you drop the agenda, and it doesn't mean you stop doing the work. In fact, it becomes more interesting in some ways. It's not so
Yeah,
gripping.
yeah. And I think for me too, when I said I wasn't only arguing with life, I was fighting with life, with reality, is, and a lot of people express that too, the need to be in control my life, control whatever, or maybe another word would be to lead life.
Yeah.
So I just learned with the practice of the work to try to lead all the time. How life, the turn of events,
Yeah.
lead/control. Just wait to be shown, more and more, wait to be shown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like trust. Just
yeah,
trust.
trust.
Trust what it.
Trust was challenging, yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
And with the book too, I had resistance. It's like, who me? Who am I to write a book? And fear of success, fear of failure, fear of all the opposites.
Yes. Right. What will
And
happen?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and doing some work on that along the way too.
Yeah.
And then it just feels so good, just letting go and waiting to be shown. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Isn't that amazing? I mean, don't know what's going to happen in an hour.
It feels so good.
So,
Yeah.
such a, so restful, so
Yeah.
relaxing, and even if the mind shows like things that are potentially worrisome, that people have when they're anxious, I mean, still see stuff, like, oh, I don't know, incoming text from a child, let's say, speaking of offspring and parenting and mothering and all that. Oh, that's happening. Huh. Like, I wonder how soon I can get there, and you just like sort of see the pictures based on the text. And then, but I love that we don't know if this is dangerous. We don't know if everything's fine. They're upset about something. Don't know really I don't know. It just, oh, what a different way to be with the people we love.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing with the work also became more and more present for me that when I don't feel good, whose business am I? Am I in the past or in the future?
Yeah.
And things like that. And just, okay, first stop
Yeah.
and let's see. And so the effortlessness is sort of guiding the way.
That's lovely. Say a little more about your noticing that when you had thoughts about your mother or you're doing the work and you felt anxious, you'd feel like eating, because that's one of my favorites, as you know. Like
I felt like
studying.
eating.
Yeah, yeah, sugar. The sugar thing came in.
Oh, that facilitation. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Hmm. So I just remember, so we did this online. So the facilitator was on the screen and I was by myself in the room
Yeah.
and I felt like I'm gonna fall off my chair and faint on the floor. And
Oh.
so in the middle of the facilitation, I jumped out of my chair and I told her, I need to eat. I need sugar. And I left the room and I think I took a banana or something like that. And it felt crazy,
Wow.
crazy.
I can relate
Not,
to crazy with food, that's for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Crazy.
it
Yeah.
was more just a chaos in my head.
Yeah.
Just can't sit still, can't meditate. And also, there's a sub question, how does it feel in your body? And it felt just losing blood,
Ah,
like blood is leaving my body. I don't know. It was the
wow.
weirdest thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I turned to emotional eating much. I'm sure
Uh-huh.
it's there.
Uh-huh.
I,
Yeah.
I had other issues with food.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I
Sure.
had other issues with food, and the work helped me with that as well. So
Fabulous. Yeah.
I had some symptoms for like a decade, and I went to doctors and I tried to do all kind of stuff and no answers. And the last thing I've heard from a doctor was autoimmune disease, and I wasn't satisfied with
Uh-huh.
that. So I saw a nutritionist and I went on elimination diet with lots of supplements. And
Mhm.
within 3 weeks, I was like a new person. I
Yeah.
lost a lot of weight. I felt fantastic, tons of energy.
Wow.
Symptoms were almost gone. However, it started, like Katie says, thinking disorder.
Oh, yes.
Thinking about food disorder, I started to be afraid of
Uh-huh.
food
Yeah.
because I'd done the elimination and I felt good.
Yeah.
So then, but I can't live forever, or I don't want to live forever without
Yeah.
this
Like
big
now.
variety of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So I try to figure out what food is causing this symptom, like rashes and
Oh,
itchiness and stuff. And at times it was like all over my body and it was driving me crazy too.
yeah.
So it took me some years to realize that I developed a thinking disorder about food. I was just fearful about food and very judgmental.
Sure.
And I went a little too far with
Yeah.
organic and seasonal, homemade, and all the politics around food and genetically modified. And it's like in my head
Yeah.
the time, every day. Gosh,
Yeah.
that was terrible too.
Yeah. It's
And then
got
at the
a,
school, they serve you this great food. And again, I felt good,
yeah.
but it sort of reinforced the anxiety and the
Sure.
thinking disorder again and again
Yeah.
until I started doing worksheets about food, about dairy and gluten and coffee and
Oh, good for you.
alcohol and everything.
Yeah.
And I decided one day just to go to the grocery store with the big cart and see what happens without leading, without controlling. And it was amazing. I looked at the cart and I saw waffles and junk food and snacks. And I was just looking at it
Wow.
without the story, without judgments,
Yeah.
and let's see what happens because I don't know that it's gonna pass the cashier point, and I don't know that it will get into my car and into my home and into my mouth and into I don't know.
Lovely.
So I just wanted to be completely free about that.
Mm.
And of course, with time, it's just things change all the time. I don't try to control, and I'm not gobbling waffles
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not afraid about food and I'm not judgmental about food anymore.
Yeah. I
And
love
I've
you
done
mentioned that's
worksheets about that.
yes. That's there's a diagnosis called orthorexia. It is a food and eating, you know, disorder that's really about hyper alertness, like sort of OCD about ingredients and what you're
Okay.
eating and non-dairy or whatever it is, like just getting, so it's the feel that you have with it, that frightened about, just as you describe, those other foods out there, and you know, fist shaking at the industry or whoever's doing it. you know it's hard because it puts you in a victim position. It's fearful, and it doesn't mean to not to eat a certain way. Some people come in my programs and they're like diabetic, or all kinds of things have happened with their bodies and with their eating, and it depends on the situation. because there's sort of different categories. But when it's like that, they're not bulimic, they haven't vomited, they haven't done severe starvation, but they might be in all that. Doesn't mean they don't have their insulin on them, and like they basically don't eat much sugar, but it's just being so relaxed with it, being able to find peace with all of that in the head, instead of like around the corner there might be something that hurts me. I love that you
Yeah.
did that. That's so fun, just walking through with the cart and letting it be
Yeah.
relaxed. Yeah, I used to
No
flip.
stories.
It'd be
Yeah.
like I had that moment of being with the cart in the store, taking the lid off because it was more like that extreme flip flop, which they term bulimic, and binge eating episodes. So it'd be all that in gripping dictatorship, and then I'd be in the cart with shame and defiance and guilt. And if I had all the like the waffles or whatever it was in there, but it would be like this. I hope nobody sees me. You know, I'm going to put on my dark glasses and a hood just so that I mean, nobody, I mean, there's so much embarrassment and shame, but defiance as well. I'm going to get this because
Yeah.
I'm usually not allowed to do it. And then those would be, of course, that would just bring more guilt and shame. It was not done the way you describe. It was not done freely.
I sat with a few nutritionists at coffee shops and we ordered dessert. And they told me, but don't take a picture of me with the dessert and don't tell anybody. And
Wow.
yes,
Oh, isn't that
yeah.
something? Yeah. Like that just such a great little tidbit
Yeah.
of watching. It's
And
all,
I thought we went to a restaurant on Saturday and me and my husband and two children, so the four of us, and I love desserts. So we ordered three desserts. And I looked at them on the table, so beautiful.
mm,
And I had a thought. These are gifts from the universe.
yes.
But it doesn't mean that I have to eat all of them every day, all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not about abuse or addiction. It's
Yeah.
again about happiness and enjoying the gifts. And it's different.
So different. There's no right or wrong. It's just being with it. No right or wrong. It's good or bad. I think dividing it up into good or bad. Long, long ago, before I ever encountered the work, I went to a therapist. I had different, many, and they were specialists. It was a couple that was specialists in eating disorders at the time. And they had me do an interesting exercise. I only saw them about 3 or 4 times, but one was to write down, make a list, and write down all the foods that were like legal. These are okay. And then here's the list of foods that are illegal. you know? And that exercise, just simply looking at that alone, I didn't really have the full picture in my head of like, I'm the one doing that. I'm the one putting all that on it. And it doesn't mean there isn't some sort of balance here with what is with the world. Like you look at a carrot and you look at a candy bar, and they're different substances in reality in the universe. But how I'm feeling about it is immense. Just this huge makes a huge difference on the experience, of eating. So
Yeah.
anyway, I love that you've had that too. Maybe it's
Yeah.
start doing the work on mother. I sometimes think, mother is where you get your first food. There's connections. There are for me at least.
Oh, yeah. There's a strong connection between mother and nurturing
Yes.
and nourishing emotionally and mentally and physically. And interesting, I sat with a small group of women and we do the work on mother. And this stereotype keeps visiting, the mother who's taking care of food and feeding and cooking at home. taking care of the children and
Yes.
cooking something special. And for me, it's also a was very big issue. It still has leftovers.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and I know how it plays me with my motherhood and food connection.
Uh-huh.
For example, for me, it was wanting to feed my children
Yes.
and wanting to be to them the mother that I wanted and
Yes.
the mother that I wanted to be and the mother I dreamed I want to be and blah, blah,
Yes.
all that stuff. And
Yes.
then they don't want it.
Isn't that
you
funny?
know? Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I mean, how
And
interesting. Yeah.
and I used to be a personal chef when I was living in Seattle. And
Wow.
it was like a dream come true, to feed other people. And, they were appreciative. And I had, regular clients. And I have a little anecdote that I like to tell that I cooked for he was at the time the richest person in the world. But for my kids, my food was not good enough. So it's,
Oh my gosh. I love it. It was so funny. Isn't that funny? He'll be like, mm-mm, not right, not there. Yeah, like don't, like
yeah,
that's so funny.
yeah.
Oh my,
So again, it's just meeting again myself at
yes,
home
yeah,
with my children,
yeah,
with all these fantasies and
yeah,
reality shows. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
um, they want something, I want something else, and then
yeah. And
how
we're
is family life going to look like?
yes. Well, and I love that it can just shift and change. I had the same thing, so much stress, especially around I got divorced and I first found the work when I was just getting divorced right after. It was happening right after. And all of a sudden, that means there isn't the family dinner at night. And I thought, I kind of had the same things that I would cook over and over, but I wanted it to be like that. And it was never quite good enough and all that kind of stuff. But I just suddenly didn't feel like doing that at all. And there was this period of time where it's just like, I'm just not whatever you want to eat. I don't know. It was just, and then I felt this is terrible. My kids are going to grow up not having a shared meal, at the end of the day, like I grew up, and I don't know. Um, what's funny is they love to cook. I thought they're never going to like to cook. It's going to be terrible. They won't know anything. They love to cook, both of them. They clean their houses. you know, they get places on time. They remember their coat. They're in their 20s. It's perfect. So funny. So all very good indeed. All very good indeed. I think you might be frozen. Let's see if Nurit comes back. I think she might be frozen. We'll see what happens. Ah, off she went. Well, we'll wait for her to come back. But what a great discussion. This is something anyone doing the work here, following this along, incredibly powerful for just moments of believing what you think about cooking.
We had a little electricity.
Oh, a little blip.
You
It's
haven't noticed? I was gone.
I did. I saw you freeze, the famous
It
Zoom
really
freeze.
worked.
Yes. And it was good because I just kept talking. It's all good. In a way, it's all these little moments, big moments, little moments. I mean, thank you. It's beautiful to share. And I was just, when you were off camera for a moment, it was like sharing that you can. What a great place to do the work. What you should or shouldn't be doing with offering and cooking and sharing with other people and liking to cook or not liking to cook or whatever's going on with food. I mean, It's sitting with the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet and taking one situation so it's not overwhelming. My whole life with food, long relationship, right? That's a
Yeah.
lifetime relationship. Just take one moment where there's a problem and look at it and write down your thoughts first. That's step one. So anything can be done.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mother,
Yeah.
food, anything. I love this, Nurit. Anything else that you want to share about, insights or your experience in doing the work or what it's like now, continuing or anything?
Yeah. Well, first I make sure it's like, going to the gym uh, to keep practicing, to
Yes.
keep the work in my life. So I make sure to have partners to practice with, and I sign up for workshops. And I love to experience different facilitators and, expand my community of people who do the work. It just feels so good. And I notice even, now if a week, I try not to let that happen anymore. But when it happened to me twice, that about a week, I wasn't doing the work, I could feel the dust starting to land in my mind. And I
Mm,
noticed I'm complaining so much
yeah.
about people and stuff. And it's like, oh, it's time to do the work. Haven't done the work for a week or something like that. So I try not to let that happen. And and I just feel like with the work, it's just the gift that keeps on giving and giving and
Mm,
giving and giving. And it's
that's
so
sweet.
amazing.
Yeah. I just love that
And
metaphor.
and writing the book was,
Go ahead, go finish.
yeah, I felt like I'm going to explode if I don't share it.
Oh,
Like if I don't empty myself a little bit, I will explode. And so, yeah, sharing is caring. I learned that in the States.
I love it.
And I
Exactly.
see our communication is wobbly again.
It's a little wobbly,
Yeah.
and that's okay. It's the way it goes. It's perfect. I mean, I was going to say, I love your metaphor of the dust settling. It's kind of like, it just made me think of cleaning house. We don't just say, wow, I have this thorough, incredible clean of the house, and now I'll never have to clean a house again. It's like, that's what I find, having the mind. I love, as it's turned out, that my job apparently is facilitating, being with facilitating myself. It keeps me in the work because it's just, I had the same thing. I love you mentioned that, where I had a partner and we met weekly for 2 hours for 2 years. We'd do a 2 hour session and we'd even switch, like only one person would be facilitator and the other one would be the client, or the person receiving facilitation for 2 hours, and we knew so much about each other's lives. And then she went to go to a monastery, so it ended. And then even then, it's like this space, and I'm noticing I'm not doing the work. I don't sit down. I don't write the worksheet. So funny, you know, life, doing life, and I can't remember what happened from there, but you know, if somebody asked me if I would be their facilitator, that's how I started facilitating. Do you do this work and how much do you charge?
Mm.
Oh, how much do I charge? Hey, how much should I charge? And I loved it because she helped me stay in the work. That person helped me stay in the work. She did every single week, and I thought, okay. And I was then in my work, not just with her, but outside of it, and it's just so grateful for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
lovely thing to mention. Yeah. Thank
Yeah. And I remember I was curious how the work will support me with physical pain,
Oh,
which is still one of my fears, experiencing physical pain.
yes.
And then I got an opportunity because when I was working on the book, I was sitting for many hours in front of the camera on the Zoom or typing and transcribing
Yeah.
the facilitations, and my back just killed me. And
Oh,
I've done inquiries on my back is killing me
yeah.
and stuff like that. And then one day I couldn't move. It was just so painful. And I thought, like, gosh, it's so interesting. And it was just the same experience of like looking at the waffle in the cart,
Yeah.
just looking and noticing and being quiet and let's see what happens. And I thought I'm gonna need my husband to help me sit on the toilet. And I thought, like, I wonder how that is going to be. Thank God I didn't reach that point, but I thought I felt like, okay, opening up to this
Yeah.
possibility. So just letting go, letting go, letting go.
Love it.
And, yeah. And it's just the happy ending is it freed me
Wow.
again, like the work does, just frees me from all kinds of stuff. So just freed me from sitting in an office. And uh, I found other ways to work much faster, more efficient. And I had to work on thoughts like, you should sit in an office, you should work at a desk, you should sit like this and that. And
Ah,
I started working from my bed with my laptop. And it's like being in bed is for lazy people. And, all these thoughts
yeah.
and judgments about
Yeah.
now who stays in bed in the middle of the day, and tons of judgments about that and worksheets on
Wow.
that. And, but
Wow.
so much freedom after, and a new working lifestyle, which is awesome.
Love it.
So love
So
it.
great.
Yeah.
I love that it shows you what to do. I used to write like a grace note, my grace notes every day, every single day. Like it felt like it was kind of channeling in. I'd write it right into the newsletter, and they'd go out with mistakes and whatever. But I just go da da da, and then my thumbs started hurting, and I was like, I wonder why my thumbs are hurting. Somebody says, do you type? Oh, yeah, I type every day. Um, and I stopped, and I stretched and I stopped doing it every day. I just started doing it just with the space, like let the hands relax. And now they're just randomly, I don't know, once a week, and it went away. It just showed me it's not required to do it every day. It's kind of funny. Because I was like, sort of, I did get kind of intense about it. Like I went on vacation with my husband. I don't know, after our honeymoon, this is my second husband in 2013, and I took the laptop and like at least 5 times was writing on our vacation. And he's very patient. It was really sweet. I'm just like doing the work on the place and sort of passionate and excited about it, which is okay too. And now I would just leave the laptop at home. It's not necessary, you know. So it does.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a great. It's so good to get those little thoughts or big thoughts, that actually move the body in a different way. Yeah,
Yeah.
so sweet. Wow.
Um, I also feel like after the book was finally released and became a product
Mm-hmm.
out there in the world with a life of its own, something in me also relaxed. Like, I don't need to do anything. I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to work and da da da. Of course, it's on my mind, but
Yeah,
then it's like, I don't need to do anything. And
wonderful.
that day trip we do at the school,
Yes.
I've done it only once because I had other demons. The other times that wouldn't
I
take
can
my feet
go.
to go on the bus.
Wow.
But
Wow. Yeah.
I've done it once. Yeah, demons, craziness in my head. But one time I went, and something with it about it was so meaningful to me. Just seeing the people, no need to do anything.
Yeah.
and less attachment to so many things, even less attachment to my body, less attachment to living. Not that I'm suicidal or something like that, but just
Of course.
being less attached.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't need to do anything. I can lie on my back in the middle of the day, in bed, or on the grass outside and wait to be shown.
Beautiful.
What am I supposed to do or not do or just be or whatever?
It's lovely.
Yeah, so many powerful exercises
Yes.
besides inquiry in the work.
Yes. Yes. Watching what happens when you do this exercise or actively are involved with this, or here's the invitation, and then seeing what the mind does, and just seeing and questioning. I love it. It's so wonderful to talk with you.
Yeah,
I love hearing about your story, and we'll have say anything you want about finding your book, but we'll have the link to your book below this video, and your
yeah,
whatever contact information you want to have there, we'll put it there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're so
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing yourself today.
So, thank you. It was fun.